In Western textbooks, Africa is often shown as a continent of tribes, chaos, and conquest. But buried deep in the forests of southwestern Nigeria is a city that tells a very different story. A story of divine origin, of godlike kings, of art and science that rivaled ancient Greece. Ile-Ife, the place they didn't want you to know about. Welcome to Lost Realms Archive. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Ile-Ife is not just a city. For the Yoruba people, it's the navel of the world, the spot where humanity began. Located in Osun State, Nigeria, Ile-Ife is one of the oldest continuously inhabited places in Africa. But most Western historians never talk about it. Why? According to Yoruba mythology, Ile-Ife is where the gods descended. Obatala, the creator, molded the first humans from clay. Oduduwa, the god king, brought the chain from heaven and founded the first kingdom. Myth? Perhaps. But every civilization has its origin story. And this one is older than most. Archaeological evidence shows that Ile-Ife had urban planning, roads, walls, and trade networks as early as the 8th century CE, long before many European cities. Yet, you won't find this in most history books. Why is Africa's timeline always pushed forward, and not backward? In 1910, British colonizers discovered something they couldn't believe. Lifelike bronze sculptures of Yoruba kings and deities, so realistic, they rivaled the best of Renaissance Europe. Scholars were stunned. How could primitive Africans create such masterpieces without European influence? The answer: they didn't need Europe. They were masters long before colonization. Power in Ile-Ife was spiritual. The Uni of Ife was more than a king, he was a divine intermediary between gods and humans. Every crown, every festival, every drumbeat was tied to cosmic order. It wasn't just politics. It was sacred science. To this day, the Uni is regarded as one of Africa's most powerful and revered traditional rulers. His lineage stretches back over thousands of years, unbroken. In the West, kings are history. In Ile-Ife, kings are legacy, and they still rule. When British scholars first encountered Yoruba brilliance, they were confused. Many refused to believe Africans made the bronzes. Some claimed they were imported. Others simply erased them from history. Why? Because it didn't fit the narrative of Africa as savage and uncivilized. Western historians often prioritized Egyptian, Greek, and Roman history. Meanwhile, the achievements of places like Ile-Ife were hidden, ignored, or stolen. Some of these artifacts still sit in British museums. Ile-Ife is not just a city. It's a testament to what Africa was, and what it still can be. They won't teach you this in school. But now, you know. The gods once walked in Ile-Ife, and their story is far from over. Archaeologists have discovered entire lines of terracotta warrior statues buried around ancient Ife. These weren't just art, they were spiritual soldiers, guardians of shrines and ancestors. What were they defending? And why were they buried? Labeled as unknown origin. But they're not unknown. They're Yoruba. Many Ife shrines are aligned with celestial bodies, similar to Stonehenge or the pyramids. The Yoruba track the stars, seasons, and even eclipses, embedding cosmic knowledge into sacred architecture. But this knowledge is barely mentioned in academic texts. The Ifa spiritual system isn't just religion, it's a mathematical code. Its 256 odes form one of the most sophisticated binary systems in the ancient world. Some believe it inspired modern computation, but you won't read that in any Western history book. Ile-Ife was a commercial hub connected to vast trade networks, spanning West Africa to the Sahara, and possibly even overseas. They traded beads, ivory, iron, and gold. Western scholars often frame Africa as isolated, but Ife was anything but. Yoruba beadwork wasn't just fashion. It was sacred science, used to encode spiritual meaning, divine status, and ancestral power. Crowns weren't just worn, they were activated, like a transmitter between realms. History books rarely mention them, but women in Ile-Ife held immense power. From the legendary Queen Moremi, To priestesses and merchants, Ife's women shaped politics, protected kingdoms, and conducted spiritual rites. This matriarchal strength is often erased in colonial narratives. Early European visitors couldn't believe what they saw. Some wrote that Ife art rivaled anything in Europe. Others claimed the bronzes must have been made by Greeks. Instead of celebrating Ife's genius, they tried to erase or claim it. Many Ife artifacts were looted during the colonial era and still sit in foreign museums. Some are mislabeled. Some are hidden. These sacred objects are not souvenirs, they're living pieces of Yoruba identity, still waiting to come home. Why was Ile-Ife never made part of global history education? Because it shatters the myth that Africa was uncivilized. Ile-Ife forces us to rewrite timelines, redefine genius, and recognize that Africa was the cradle of more than just humanity, it was the cradle of civilization. Despite the silence, suppression, and stolen history, the spirit of Ile-Ife lives on. In its festivals, its language, its kings, its descendants around the world. Ife never died. It was only hidden. Now, it's time to bring it back into the light. Standing over 18 feet tall, the Opo Iranian is a granite staff linked to Iranian, the warrior son of Oduduwa. Some say it marks his grave. Others say it's a divine calendar, aligned with the stars. How did ancient Yoruba craftsmen carve this from a single stone, and why is it barely studied today? Moremi was not just a queen, she was a legend. She infiltrated enemy camps, risked her life to save her people, and outsmarted warriors who threatened Ife. Her story is as powerful as Cleopatra or Joan of Arc, yet how often is her name taught globally? In ancient Ife, artisans crafted glass beads so pure and bright, their chemical composition still puzzles modern scientists. These beads were traded across Africa. But were they also used for ritual science, energy balance, or cosmic alignment? Western scholars still have no clear answer. The Yoruba calendar predates the Gregorian by centuries. With a 4-day week, 91-day seasons, and spiritual alignment through oracles, this was more than timekeeping. It was cosmic rhythm, a harmony between Earth, ancestors, and the divine. But it's rarely mentioned in global historical studies. Ile-Ife's sacred groves weren't just religious, they were ancient eco-temples. Trees were seen as living ancestors. The land was mapped for spiritual energy. Before Western conservation, Ife practiced a form of ecological science rooted in deep respect. Forgotten by modern history, but still alive in Yoruba belief. In Ile-Ife, drums weren't just musical instruments, they were language systems. The talking drum could transmit messages over miles, recite praise poetry, or call spirits. An entire oral archive stored in rhythm. And still, Western historians dismissed it as primitive music. Alakan, the Yoruba deity and king of the deep sea and wealth, is worshipped through mysterious rites. Some believe Alakan's knowledge came from the depths of time or otherworldly realms. What ancient secrets lie beneath these symbolic waters? Ife wasn't just a city, it was the fountainhead. From it flowed royal bloodlines, spiritual knowledge, and artistic influence into Benin, Oyo, Ekiti, and more. Benin's bronzes owe their origin to Ife. Yet Western narratives praise Benin and ignore its mother. In Cuba, Brazil, Trinidad, and the US, Yoruba's spiritual systems survived slavery. Through Orisha worship, language, drumming, and memory, the spirit of Ife traveled the world. Today, millions of descendants are reclaiming that identity. Ile-Ife didn't die in colonial hands. It lived in the souls of the displaced. What if textbooks told the truth? What if universities taught the legacy of Ife as proudly as Athens or Rome? What if we treated Yoruba civilization, not as folklore, but as world heritage? Maybe then, we'd understand that Africa was never behind. It was always ahead.